Eileen Gu finally wins gold at the 2026 Winter Olympics as she triumphs in halfpipe final amid Traitor controversy over decision to represent China. Having spent much of this trip in defense mode, Eileen Gu went on the attack on Sunday. It was to the detriment of the field, Team GB's Zoe Atkin included, that they found the American-turned-Chinese superstar in no mood to settle for a third silver medal at these games on Sunday. By taking gold in the halfpipe, she not only defended her title from Beijing 4 years ago, but also silenced a few people, among them the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who in recent days has reignited the debate around Gu's transient state of nationality. Gu's response on Thursday was to thank him, and her performance on the closing day in Livigno drove a nail into the point. Her best run of 94.75 points stole the show, and her second best of 94 would have been good for gold in its own right. Atkin? She finished in bronze on 92.5, matching the medal her sister won in Pyeongchang 8 years ago. Between her and Gu was a second Chinese athlete, Li Fenghui. But the day belonged to Gu. Already the most marketable face at the Olympics, a freestyle skier with a foot in 2 huge markets and endorsements worth north of $20 million a year, this had been a complicated stay in Italy for the 22-year-old. Having won 2 golds for China in 2022 and been renamed the Snow Princess, her silvers in the slopestyle and big air felt underwhelming. A brave journalist asked about that earlier in the week and was scorched in return by a chilly retort. But there was no picking at this 5th Olympic medal, which further enhanced Gu's status as the most decorated freestyle skier in history, a description she reached for in reply to that journalist, actually. For the record, his question had been perfectly reasonable. In any case, her success and decisions have left her open to all manner of questions, and as a Stanford student, she backs herself to answer them. On the halfpipe, Atkin, the X Games champion and world gold medalist, asked some hard ones of her own. As with qualifying, Atkin made her mark early. She was 12th down the pipe and straight to the top of the board with her first of 3 runs, judged at 90.5 points. The details within it were revealing. Her highest jump was 4.5 meters and her average was 2.7 m, the latter greater than anyone else's peak. That is usually her difference. The more you fly, the more room for your tricks, and come the close of run 1 she had 5.5 points on silver, held by Amy Fraser of Canada. Gu. She landed awkwardly early on, having also fallen on her way to slopestyle and big air silvers here, and at 30 points was slow from the blocks. She was greeted at the bottom by her mother, who happened to be wearing a large panda hat, and the daughter managed a grin. Of course, those of us who have sat in her press conferences know that there can be menace behind the smile. A savage competitor that was shown on the second descent. Gu, the only woman capable of going close to Atkin's height off the slopes, responded with back-to-back alley-oops, difficult rotations that run counter to the approach, apparently, and such was the difficulty, she was rated 94, despite missing a grab. She was happier this time. Gold was in her hands. By the time Atkin was sent down, pressure had been increased by Gu's Chinese teammate Li Fenghui, who had moved into silver with a 91. Atkin upped the difficulty accordingly and with it, flew even higher, 5.4 m at one point, but with the risk came the fall. Off her 5th trick, she landed heavily and lost her skis. With the 3rd and final run, Gu stretched her lead by fractions, improving to 94.75, and Li jumped to 93. Only Atkin could catch them and she went big. She sent it, to use the parlance. Peaking at 5 m, all tricks landing cleanly, she stepped up to 92.5 for bronze, matching her sister but not Gu, who dropped to her knees in the snow. She might not admit it freely, but gold means far more than silver. The moment of triumph. It was late morning in Livigno, Italy, crisp air, bright sun streaking over snow-packed mountains, a tempestuous finale to a long, unpredictable Winter Olympics. Against the backdrop of swirling flags, roaring crowds, and cinematic slopes, Eileen Gu launched herself into the big tube of snow known as the halfpipe. With every rotation and twist, she seemed to wrestle not only gravity, but expectation itself. Gu's final run wasn't just technically excellent, it was emphatically definitive. With a winning score of 94.75, She soared above a field of world-class competitors to defend her Olympic title in the women's freeski halfpipe, edging her teammate Li Fanghui into second and Zoe Atkin of Great Britain into bronze. In doing so, she cemented a record: 6 medals in 6 Olympic events, the most in the history of her sport. Photographers clicked, commentators shouted, and the moment, so hard-earned, erupted into a spectacle. Gold around her neck, Gu stood not only atop a podium but atop the swirling story of her career, one defined by brilliance, controversy, loyalty, and identity. 2. The road to the podium. To understand the weight of this moment, you must understand what came before. Gu's trajectory was always exceptional. Born in California to a Chinese mother and an American father, she was a prodigy on skis, daring, stylish, and precociously technical. At the 2022 Beijing Olympics, competing for China for the first time, she captured 2 golds and a silver, astonishing the world and promising a new era for freestyle skiing. But that success came with a price: increased media scrutiny, national expectations on 2 continents, and a complex narrative of allegiance. 4 years later, at the 2026 Milano Cortina Games, she entered as one of the most recognizable and polarizing athletes on snow. This year, she lined up in 3 disciplines. She claimed silver in both slopestyle and big air events, powerful performances that foreshadowed her final push for gold. Her last chance, the halfpipe, the event that could elevate her from champion to legend. Yet even as she prepared to compete, off-snow narratives tugged as fiercely as the alpine winds that hammered the slopes. 3. The Traitor, narrative and cultural crosswinds. It is telling that a ski run, an arc of speed and flight, could become shorthand for far broader political and cultural ideals. For some observers, particularly in the United States, Gu's decision to represent China has been fraught with emotion. Online commentators, talk show pundits, and even former public figures lobbed accusations at her, labeling her choice as disloyal or unpatriotic, branding her, in the harshest terms, traitor. Reports said she even endured threats and confrontations over her nationality decision. What fuels such reactions? At its core, this controversy touches on national identity, cultural belonging, and the shifting territory between global citizenship and geopolitical rivalry. To critics, sports have historically functioned as one of the purest arenas of national pride. Athletes are seen as representatives of their country's spirit, values, and potential. Gu's choice, to skate, flip, and soar under the banner of China despite her American upbringing, challenged that traditional model. For some, it triggered discomfort rooted in the perception of competition not just among athletes, but among nations. Part of the sentiment also ignored fundamental facts about dual heritage, personal choice, and the universal language of athleticism.